Hey everyone, welcome to the first regional dungeon of the game, the Forest Temple, otherwise known as the Wooded Temple. Now each of the dungeons in this game have this entrance area where the train can relax for a while, but this first one also has a nearby rocket dealio on the left side. So you head over there and investigate, you can use the spirit flute and then check out the orbs that are floating out of it to learn a new song. Sweet! So whenever you are in the Tower of Spirits or in one of the temples, you can play the Song of Healing to fill up your hearts completely one time per visit. Now I have a tendency to forget I have this, so hopefully you're not like me. So alright, with song in hand, at long last, want to enter the temple itself. Now, this temple has some pretty cool music, it really sets the mood. Now this first puzzle requires you to activate the switch on the other side of this chasm. To do this, we'll have to use these like glass acorn thingies nearby. Luckily, glass acorns regrow very quickly, so who'd have thought? But anyway, if you toss one of those at the switch, this will allow you to go across to the side. Now, a common feature in a lot of Zelda games is to have specific rooms that lock you in and force you to the battle to the death with enemies before you can leave. I would say this is much more prevalent in the 2D, or perhaps I should specify, top-down perspective Zelda games, such as this one. Now, as you enter, you'll meet up with a few yellow spinets, as well as a new spin on that same enemy, this time of the green variety. These ones have a tendency to hang back for a few moments before charging at you, and they have more health. They're predictable as well, just in a different way, making them awkward to deal with when combined with other enemies. Once all the enemies have been defeated here, be sure to snag the chest that appears in the corner, and it contains 100 rupees! Yeah! There's several hidden chests throughout this temple that contain big rupees, but don't worry, I will be showing how to collect all of them. So up the stairs here, we have a new obstacle. These purple clouds of death are poisonous and will hurt you if you touch them. Kind of self-explanatory, but hey, if you get hurt, just slash some jars or acorns if you find some later. In this next room, we face off with another new enemy called Vengus. These insects move around very quickly in spurts, so the trick to defeating them is to wait until they stop moving and then rush in for the kill. Just want to be careful, though, because they do leave poison that you could potentially be making your battlefield more dangerous. Once all of them are defeated, you can go ahead and open the large yellow chest in the corner to find the dungeon item. This one's pretty unique because it takes advantage of the microphone on your DS. The Whirlwind allows you to blow gusts of wind at your enemies, knocking them back and stunning them temporarily. Kind of an odd variation of the boomerang's function, I suppose, but it's a nifty first item to get nonetheless. To use this item, you can tap on the button in the corner, but it's probably much easier to simply hold the L or R button to immediately switch to it, and then just keep your stylus pressed on the screen the entire time. This way you can use this item very quickly, and it makes it much easier. To the south, you can also use the Whirlwind to blow away the poison and find a chest containing a common treasure. You technically could have just walked right into the poison and snagged this, but what kind of fun is that, It's more vindicating to remove it instead. Back in the Whirlwind room, you can use it to blow the wooden pinwheel thing to open up the door, and then you can break the jars in the next room to find some recovery hearts in case you got hurt, and these jars often also have at least one common treasure, and sometimes even two if you're lucky, so that's pretty sweet. Now, you can optionally use the Song of Awakening on the Gossip Stones here if you wish, but it's kind of a waste. There's one on each floor, and they charge you to inform you about any hidden chests that are on that floor, but because I'll be showing you where all of them are anyways, you don't really need to spend your money on it. Now, in this next room, you want to snag the key that is on the unreachable pedestal. To do this, you want to simply blow it over to either the north or the south side, and then go collect the small key. I'm going to step on the switch here to open up the next door, creating a shortcut to the other side of the dungeon. And here I'm just going to show that you can use the Whirlwind to stun enemies like the Vengus. Now granted, these insects aren't that hard to defeat, but it's good to know for later when we face much harder enemies. So that suspicious purple fog in the top right corner of the map is just begging to be explored, wouldn't you say? Either that or the game is just trying to make you hyperventilate. Same result either way. You're going to use the Whirlwind to work your way left, and at the end you'll find a stamp station, which we can't actually use at this time, but hiding behind it is a floor switch that creates a chest. Aha! Yummy! So with money in hand, it's time to put that small key to use. You want to return to the south, where we first entered the dungeon, and then open the locked door here on the left. Now you may want to slash the jars along the way to get some recovery hearts, and again, as I mentioned earlier, you can use the Song of Awakening to wake up the Gossip Stones, but they charge you to tell you where the locations are of the hidden chests on each floor. However, one thing you can do is to hunt for the chests and then speak with the Gossip Stones afterwards, because they won't be able to charge you if there's no more chests remaining on the floor. So because of this, you can use this process of elimination, and if they ask you for money, that means there's still a secret left to find, and if they don't ask you, that means that you're awesome. Now, these new enemies in here are called bubbles, and unlike previous games, they are invincible while they are all smoky and flamey or whatever. You want to use the Whirlwind to stun them and then take them out to proceed. Similar to the previous puzzle with the small key we had to knock over, but now we have some distance involved. You want to stand on the tiles marked on the floor and then use the Whirlwind to fling the acorn dealio and hit the switch. This creates a chest nearby that has a small key that we can use one floor down. This new enemy here is called a Mothula, and it will avoid your regular attacks entirely. You don't want to use the Whirlwind on it regularly because it will use it to counterattack you instead, and the trick to harming them is to wait until they throw bubbles at you, which you can then toss back at them with the Whirlwind. Alright, so here we have a new enemy called a blastworm. These slugs get excited when they see you and come over to give you a spiky hug. Aw, and as cute as they are, you probably better just avoid that opportunity. If you hit them with your sword once, they will curl into a ball for a bit. You can slash them again and they will explode. You can either lure it over to the blocks and hopefully make it explode once it's close enough, but it's probably easier to simply curl it into a ball by smacking it once and then go behind it and use the Whirlwind to knock it into the blocks. This purple fog here is pretty self-explanatory, but just let me point out that there is a hidden floor switch on the right side that leads to some treasure. So be sure to snag that. I think a lot of people end up missing it entirely, assuming that it's a dead end and it doesn't lead to anything, but yeah, there is treasure involved here. This puzzle here is pretty obvious. The goal is to use the blastworms to break the blocks and hit the crystal switch. Now it may take a few tries, and probably the hardest thing about this is just that you have to keep the little blue guys separated so that they don't blow each other up. giant key. Chances are it goes in the giant lock. Trust me on this one, I have a good feeling about this. Now, before we actually do that, you should check out the map on the wall behind it. Aha, secret path. Sounds like a good time to draw on our own map, with the stylus, of course. I mean, you could use markers on your DS, but chances are it probably wouldn't work out so well. Once you're done copying the information, you can back out of these menus and tap on the key to pick it up. This thing's pretty heavy, so you will walk a little slower while holding it. Now, the path is pretty obvious, and even before we saw this map, because the floor tiles are actually marked on the areas that you don't want to touch. So, well, I know you're all curious, and you may have done this on your own anyway because you're curious, but if you step on these tiles with the swirly squigglies on them, you'll encounter a new enemy called a Keymaster. Without a doubt, the ugliest variation of the wall masters in any Zelda game. These things don't really care for you in particular. They're more interested in grabbing the key and taking it back to the starting position, an interesting twist on a familiar foe. Now, in order to deal with them, you have to set the key down and either attack them directly with your sword or use other weapons to stun them. Once stunned, you can either defeat them or leave them stunned. Now, personally, I think it's actually a much better strategy to set down the key and quickly stun them, and then start making a run for it again with the key. By just setting it down every once in a while and stunning them, you can quickly and easily make it past them, and it's the best way to make distance. If you defeat them, they kind of tend to reappear fairly quickly. Anyway, you want to pick up the key, and once you're close enough, you can tap it on the lock to toss it in, unveiling the way to the boss chamber. Up the stairs, you can slash the jars to get some recovery hearts, and check out the stone tablet for a quick portal back to the beginning, in case you have to go purchase potions or anything like that. When you're ready, just head up the stairs and join me for the next video where I will show you how to defeat the boss.